Hi everybody, I'm Dr. Amanyu and I'm going to show you a really easy method of tying the constrictor knot. If you're unfamiliar with this knot, here's what it looks like. Say this is a vessel or a duct or something you want to ligate. The working end makes a turn around it, crosses the standing part to make another turn on the opposite side, comes in front of the standing part, not behind. If the end goes behind this part, you'll end up making an entirely different knot, the Clove hitch. Be careful about that. So it comes in front of this part and finally passes behind this crossing point to form the constrictor knot. It's one of the most secure of all binding knots. So as a ligature, it's so much more efficient than your square knot or surgeon's knot or miller's knot, all that stuff. It basically has a half knot and a riding turn on top of that. And if you remove the host, the constrictor knot just disappears. And so this knot is tieable in the bite, meaning you don't actually need the free ends to make this knot. Even if the ends are infinitely long, you can still tie it. And there are quite a few ways of tying this knot, and you'll probably find plenty of tutorials on this online. I'll try to drop a few links below. The technique I'm going to show you is an instrument tie, which involves forming the constrictor knot around an instrument and then clamping the vessel or duct or whatever structure with that instrument and then transferring the knot onto the cut end of that structure. And so the one small downside of this method is that you'll have to transect the structure before you can slide the knot onto it. But that's not really an issue, as that's how we do it in most cases. Alright, the first step is creating an overhand loop, and depending on the chirality of that loop, the further steps slightly differ. First, let's take a positive or a right-handed enantiomorph or a Z form, meaning this right limb comes to lie on top of the left. Now grasp this loop by the crossing point with your non-dominant hand and let the right end hang freely. Now I'm right-handed, so I'm gonna go with the right-hand active, left-hand passive version of this technique. Southpaws can watch this through a mirror, I guess. Now introduce the forceps into the loop from behind, such that it's coming towards you. And then you had to kind of twirl your forceps, wrapping these two parts around it. And come out through this upper part of the same loop once again, continuing in the same direction. Pull the right limb up and the left limb down, and ta-da, there's your constrictor knot. Dress it a bit, clamp the vessel, throw the knot onto it, and cinch it down. Now some people find making a negative or a left-handed or an S enantiomorph more comfortable, where the left limb is on top of the right. In this case, it's pretty similar, except this time you'll have to introduce the forceps from the front, pointing it away from you, and then wrap these two parts around it and continue in the same direction to come out through the loop. This time pull the left limb up, pull the right limb down, and there you go. Now if you mix these up, say you start with a Z enantiomorph, but then you enter the loop from the front and try to make this knot, you'll end up making, again, a Clove hitch, which is not a very secure knot. So find which enantiomorph you're most comfortable with and stick to it. Unlike the surgeon's knot, the constrictor knot does not tend to bind prematurely, and it doesn't capsize as easily either, even if you tug on these ends, so it fares rather well under expansile force. And if you're still, skeptical about this, you can always throw a couple of half knots on top of it. And there are some variations of this knot, like the double constrictor knot. You can look those up if you're interested. Finally, after you have practiced in these large sweeping motions and you've gotten the hang of it, then practice using a tighter technique with smaller loops. It'll take you just a couple of seconds to make this knot. So that's all, I guess. See you next time.